With the recent, well depending on when this video releases, somewhat recent conclusion to round 8 of Ragnarok, with Tesla not only having lost his moustache, but his life for a second time, it's about time I think that I finally get round to making the second video in this series where I analyse each of Record of Ragnarok's fights to pull out the themes and messages of each of these amazing fights. So if you want to know more, then keep watching this video. But first, a quick ask for you to like, subscribe and ring that bell, as I cannot explain how much such a small action can do for this channel. But without further ado, on with the video. Round 5 is what I call the round of passion between the ultimate sumo, Raiden Tamiamon, and the god of destruction, Shiva. Now Shiva and Raiden are both hypermuscular brawlers, and are in a lot of ways the most similar to one another of any god-human matchup in the series. Both hold an immense passion in their hearts, which is why Raiden is first introduced in the heat of passion with, let's count, 13 different women. For Shiva, this passion is his love for his friends. For his best friend Rudra, this passion is personified by Shiva's fire. He is burning with passion, and as we see, it is the mention of his friend that spurs Shiva on and makes him burn brighter. Raiden, in contrast, has a passion for sumo. Sumo was the one thing that he gave everything for. It was what allowed him to make enough money to send his village food, and it was what allowed him to make the most of his muscles. It's his love for sumo that helps him push through in this fight. Sumo lets him help people. As more than just sumo, Raiden also has a passion for people, for helping others. And likewise in this final clash of the match, it is the cries of the people he helped in life that spur him on. But going back to his introduction, we are presented with a man who is described as the embodiment of sin, of sloth and gluttony. However, that is just the surface of him, the misunderstood surface, because as we see, he is more than just some horn dog, more than just a man who indulges. Raiden is a genuinely selfless man who really wants to help people, and that's why he feared being seen as a monster so much. He never fully used his strength in life, because he didn't want to be viewed as a monster and excluded from humanity, because Raiden loves people. This is why his Veland is muscle bands. His greatest asset is his muscles, and so he has to unleash them for the sake of the people he loves. He has to expose his insecurities and risk being seen as a monster in order to save the race he loves so much. He loves life and loves people, hence why he indulges in worldly pleasures and sleeps with so many people. And this love for humanity is rewarded in this match. His fears do not come true. He doesn't get seen as a monster, he gets seen as a hero. As he says at the start of the match, he wants to free humanity from the shackles of the gods. He sees no reason for applause or fun, he just has a job to do to save humanity. Raiden lacked the confidence to be who he was, but due to the aid of Thrud, he was able to. I mean, it's no coincidence that much like how Shiva's tattoos are a reminder of his reason to fight, Raiden's body markings were what allowed him to unleash his true strength and pursue sumo to the end. These body markings represent why each of them fight, one for their friends and the other for sumo and the people that helps as a result. Shiva, as said, is someone who fought for their friends. They were always a god who took pleasure in life, always seeking fun. As he says at the beginning of the match, Ragnarok is just a fun game to him. Back when he and Rudra summited the peak and defeated all other gods in their way, Shiva always had a smile on his face. He did it for the fun of it. He did it to spend time with his friend. But once they made it to the top, there still was one opponent left to face. And so the two friends fought. Shiva didn't want to. He didn't want it to escalate from just fun to something of meaning. And that is a flaw of him, that he refuses to accept there is more importance to things than just how fun they are. That fight was both fun and painful for Shiva. He kept hoping Rudra would stay down. He didn't want his friend to die trying to win. He didn't understand why he had to keep fighting, why he wanted to win so bad. He never understood dreams, he says as much himself. But by doing so, by not ending the fight properly, all he did was make his friend feel sorry. By pitying him, he gave him a loss worse than death. And it was all because he didn't take it seriously, because he didn't understand the weight of his friend's dream, and that by showing pity to him he was trampling all over his dream. It's why Shiva asking about Rudra's dream in confusion is so powerful, as the dream he is speaking about is the one he crushed with his own hands. It's a burden he bears as the strongest god of India. He became the strongest, but lost his friend. His friend had a dream, one he put his all into accomplishing. He meanwhile just tagged along for the fun of it. The drive between the two was different, and then when it got serious, Shiva didn't have the courage to match Rudra's drive. To be beaten by your friend when he doesn't even have his heart in it. It must have been so painful for Rudra. However, they were friends, and so they didn't hold malice for one another in their hearts. Shiva held his friend's dream as he ruled as the head god of India. It was now his burden to carry. He inherited it and now he has to live up to it. He learned from this experience to value dreams. He doesn't compromise his desire to have fun. He says as much at the start of the fight, but now he fights seriously when he has to. After taking damage and hearing the cries of support of his friends, Shiva starts to realise that this fight is just like that one on the summit. That this isn't fun and games, that to not fight seriously is to once again make a big mistake. As he says, he has the hopes of all 1116 gods behind him. He is honouring his friend's dream as the top god, and he will fight in accordance with it. And in contrast, Raiden, the man who at the start of the fight just wanted to win, he smiles, smiling at the fact he can use his full strength for the first time, happy that he is able to fight as a sumo once more. He may have acted tough and serious, but at heart he is the same as Shiva. He loves to have fun. He first became a sumo to honour the mission given to him by his mother, to be a hero and bring back money for his village, but he soon learned to love it, to have fun. The difference is that Shiva started off as a fun lover who didn't understand the value of the important things, and Raiden started as a serious man on a mission who came to learn the values of having fun. When Shiva had his arms crushed he got serious, and when Raiden had his chest split open he smiled. The two fight with an understanding that they love to fight. Raiden's declaration that he is a Rikishi and that he wants to risk his whole life on this fight says so much, and Shiva saying that he is the peak of Savaga and can't let all 1116 so those gods down, again is a testament to the reasons these two fight. The serious hero fighting for his love of fighting, of the fun he wants to have, and the fun lover fighting for the important dreams he carries, and the gods that stand behind him. Two men who stand at the top of their respective societies, who have penetrated the deepest secrets of their respective martial arts. Two men who are burdened by the emotions of others, and who both fight to win, not just for themselves but also for the people counting on them. The duality of fun and responsibility, of enjoying yourself but not forgetting the stakes and the people relying on you, that is what I think is the lesson from this fight. That you can't live life with no cares in the world, that not everything is fun and games, that some things have meaning and importance, but at the same time a life devoid of fun, a life where you are chained to a mission, is again not living. The final bout of this match is of nothing but two fighters, with all the reason to win behind them, having the times of their life. Shiva has Rudra behind him, and Raiden has the people he helped. It was a pure fight of passion, yet in the end there can only be one winner. And even as he lost, Raiden stayed true to his nature and tried to spare Thrud from dying alongside him. As Shiva lopped off his head, he acknowledged him not as a human, but as Raiden Tamiyomen. This fight then on a grander scale shows how humans and gods are once again the same. The two fought with the same passion and ended the fight as equals. Shiva's words are in clear contrast to Poseidon, as Shiva, a god, has finally come to understand the true power of humans, that they are driven by the same passions as the gods. Buddha vs Foku though, is not a fight between god and man, but instead a fight between god and a man turned god, and the central theme of this fight has to be fulfillment through self-love. In short, Buddha is happy as he is the one who decides his own actions, and Foku is sad because he equates everything to luck. Despair is just bad luck and happiness is just good luck. One is fulfilled and so leads a life they want to lead, the other is distracted by a concept they cannot control, and so cannot live the life they want no matter how hard they try. This is a fight I honestly didn't care for much. I might be the only Raganarok fan who didn't love Buddha from the get-go, but now on a reread or two, I've finally come to appreciate why this fight is so good and why people love Buddha so much. As once again I am blown away by just how much symbolism and thematic messages are woven into these fights. So let's get down to it. Foku is one of the most overhated characters in the series, in my opinion. Not as much as Okata, who committed the deadly crime of being a second Japanese swordsman, but a lot, and I think a lot of it comes down to misunderstanding the point of his character. Foku is the combination of the 7 lucky gods. He is a being dictated by luck, one who embodies that very concept. And this is his biggest flaw. Foku, you see, equates luck to happiness. If you are lucky, you are happy. If you are unlucky, you are unhappy. Foku started as a kind god, the kindest of them all. He came down to earth, but all he found was poverty and sickness. He wanted to spread happiness, that is what he thought his job as a god was, and so he took on the misfortune, the bad luck of the people. He thought he could make them happy by taking away the source of their misfortune, and so he did it over and over till he was left in a truly dire state. Yet when he returned to the village, he found the people to be sinful. They wallowed in cardinal desires. They weren't happy, they were just free of any inconveniences, of anything that might cause them the slightest discomfort. As the manga directly says, the more of their misfortunes he took in, the more they lost sight of happiness and fell into depravity without fail. Fuku thought if he took away their bad luck, that they would be happy, that all that prevents one from being happy is bad luck, their situation. But he was wrong, and the absence of misfortune isn't the way to attain happiness, something shown to him by Buddha, a person who made those stricken with poverty and illness happy, but not by taking away their misfortunes. Buddha didn't cure them, he didn't remove their misfortunes or fix their problems, he just gave them an example and taught them the simple lesson that happiness ain't something you can give to other people, it's something you've got to attain yourself. There is no light without the dark, you can't be happy without sadness to compare it against. One devoid of sadness can never understand true happiness. Fuku couldn't accept this though, his worldview was fundamentally different. He thought he would be happy if he brought luck, he thought being a bringer of luck would make him happy, that luck equals happiness, but that's just not the case. He cursed humanity and almost unleashed divine retribution before splitting himself into 7 gods. When things didn't go his way, he turned to anger. During the fight, every time he takes damage, when things don't go his way, he yells out about how miserable he is, because in his mind, to be unlucky, for things to not go your way, that is the definition of despair. Of course, something contradicted by the people he saw following Buddha. Starving people with no money to their names, people who are unlucky, who have not had things go their way, people who despite all that were still happy and smiling. But how did Buddha come to set such an example to the people? He was born into wealth with no need to ever want. He bestowed happiness on others as that is what he thought royalty should do. But as he talked to his brother, he learned something. His brother was dying of illness, but on the bright side at least he led a happy life, leading his kingdom to prosperity. But that is just what it looked like on the outside. On the inside he wasn't happy. He never had any agency in the world, everything was chosen for him. He never got to live a life he wanted to, and as such he never was happy. Happiness cannot be bestowed, you can't be happy with a life gifted to you, one you didn't choose. And then when this brother of his died, Buddha took this to heart, and that is when he gained enlightenment. The understanding of happiness, of how we achieve it, it's simply by doing what we truly want. And so in accordance to his new view on life, he took his brother's coffin, took him away from the funeral he had forced on him, and set him down the river to see the world for himself, to experience a world that wasn't given to him. He goes on to live for nobody but himself, to live the life he wants to live, one he chooses for himself. And anyone who said otherwise, who tried to tell him how he or others should live their lives, he told them to simply shut up. He hates those who impose their fates on others, as your own internal happiness is something only you can grab hold of. Luck has nothing to do with it, and that's why he tells Fuku to shut up, as his talk of luck and misfortune is nonsense. It's got nothing to do with happiness, as luck is external, but happiness, that's right inside your heart. Buddha doesn't move for anyone but himself, because the only one who tells him what to do is him, something reflected in his weapon which takes a form in response to not Buddha's intentions, but his emotions. It's a weapon that can't be controlled or told what to do by anyone, it only moves when it wants to, much like Buddha himself. This is the concept of equanimity, a Buddhist concept best described as the ability to remain composed and calm no matter the circumstances. You should not be swayed by pain, not give in to anger, not be distracted by pleasures. Buddha remains calm no matter what, even when Zero's attacks might hurt the audience, the people he swore to protect. He does not waver, because fear does not move him. The only thing that moves him is himself, not even the situation. And this is a lesson Buddha imparts on those who follow him. He doesn't tell them what to do, he just asks them to do what they want to do. Buddha found happiness through who he was inside, regardless of any notion of luck. Fuku though looked for happiness on the outside. He had his happiness swayed by forces outside of his control, by luck, something that cannot be tamed, and that is what had to change. As Buddha says to Fuku, he just has to love himself, something which gets through to Fuku. He realises that he didn't just want to make people happy, no, he wanted to be loved. That's why he helped people, why he took on their misfortune. It was just because he wanted to be loved by them. This understanding makes him drop his weapon, as it's a weapon born from his misery, but without any misery left, it's completely useless. And so he has no choice but to fight bare-fisted, the two fighting because that is what they want to do. With Fuku even saying that he is at the peak of happiness. This is all he wanted, to just be happy, being loved by someone and loving them back, an exchange of everything laid bare. He's knocked down, but even as he loses, he smiles, as he is happy, and he decides that he will go back to trying to help humanity. Why? Because that is what he wants to do. But unlike before, he will do it while loving himself. He will take after Buddha and attain happiness all on his own, or so he should have, except for one final stroke of bad luck. Hejun, the demon god of the sixth heaven. Now in mythology, Hejun is a demon that tried to tempt Buddha away from enlightenment, and in the story he does something similar. He makes Buddha question himself. Buddha himself falls into anger while fighting Hejun. He goes against equanimity, and as such he starts to lose, with him only winning once he regains his calm and relaxed demeanour. Now Hejun, like Zirafuku, also personifies luck. However, whereas Zirafuku was unlucky and drowned in misfortune because of it, Hejun was blessed with good luck, with a host out of pure luck and great power out of, again, luck. Luck, as pressed earlier in this fight, does not discriminate. It comes to all, be it good or bad, and that it is true strength to find happiness despite that. Hejun, by being so blessed yet being so evil, hammers home the reality that luck has no bias, that even the most heinous of people can be blessed. Hejun raved about his power, about how he was blessed with immense strength and so he was rightfully above Buddha, and even to his last breath he spouted such dribble. He never looked in himself for happiness at all, he just wanted others to fear him as the strongest. He wanted the validation of others, exactly like Zirafuku had. The only difference is that Zirafuku wanted love, and in the end that is what he got. Whereas Buddha didn't fear Hejun, and as such he never could give Hejun what he wanted. Buddha defeats Hejun through Volond. He connects with Zirafuku. Volond occurs when two hearts are made one, and as such the fact this was even possible shows that Zirafuku did change. They connected not through luck, but due to their shared love for one another and the effort Zirafuku put into change. Luck has nothing to do with it, once again, it was through their own efforts of their hearts melding. When Zirafuku's soul vanishes, we see that he is happy, he is smiling, but even more symbolic is how we also see the seven lucky gods too, as he has made peace with himself, with every aspect of himself. Even if they came from a moment of despair of bad luck, he still accepted they were him, and that even if they came from despair, that didn't make them limited to misery, as he loves himself, every single part of him. At the end of the day, he had the worst luck, being the host for a terrible demon against his will. But despite that, despite the most unfortunate of situations befalling him, one that even took his life, he still managed to be happy in the end. As that luck did not define him nor how he felt. He was happy, the situation couldn't move his heart anymore. No matter how dreadful, the only thing that could was himself. As he now loves himself. And as the match ends, we see not just Buddha, but all of humanity love Zirafuku too. A perfect contrast to Hejun, who died in denial with nobody acknowledging him. His good luck ran out, the situation no longer favoured him, but he couldn't look inside himself for help and so could only suffer, swept along by his luck. There was no happiness inside him, that's why Buddha's precognition failed. Hejun could not rely on himself to win or be happy, and so when luck changed and the situation favoured not him but Buddha, he couldn't win nor could he be happy. The overall message of this fight being that you shouldn't let your luck or your situation define you, that you can find happiness no matter what, you just have to love yourself. And well, if you disagree with me, then shut up. Finally, we get to talk about Hades vs Qin Shi Huang, the fight of kings, between the king of the Netherworld and the king where it all began. Which, although I will admit is not my favourite fight in the series, it does have one of my favourite characters in the entire series, Qin Shi Huang, taking part. A character I may or may not have cosplayed. Check out my Insta, link in the description. Now this fight is rather obviously one of kingship, about what makes one worthy to rule and what defines a king. And well, what is a king? Well, as Qin Shi Huang defines, a king is one who never doubts, never yields, never relies, and always stands as the leader of his people. That is what makes a king. In other words, a king is one who no matter what cannot falter, one who must sacrifice everything in order to be a pillar of support for their people. They must never yield because they are right. The people that follow them believe in them because their approach is correct. And so if the king falters, then it's the same as saying he is wrong, that everything his people believe in is a lie. And so a king cannot lose for that reason. He must forever be right, forever be victorious, as any less would be an insult to the people that allow them to rule as kings. Hades of course agrees with this definition. He acknowledges Qin Shi Huang as a king, but then instead of saying such words reflect him, chooses to bring up his recently deceased brother Poseidon. And while maybe this lack of pride in himself, the fact he didn't immediately think of himself as king, is foreshadowing to his defeat to a king who sees only himself as king. Qin Shi Huang though was not always a king. He was once just a prince, held prisoner as a hostage. As a hostage he was hated by all those around him, blamed for things beyond his control. However, he chose to bear their hate and smile through it. Everyone has to aim their hate somewhere, and he decided it was him that was to bear it. However, in even worse luck, possibly to call back to the lessons learnt in round 6, he was also born with a rare neurological disorder. He felt the same pain he saw others experience, and so took on the pain of all those he saw. Once again though, he did not complain. He took on all their pain and hate without issue. However, as told to him by Chun Yan, the closest thing he ever had to a mother, he isn't responsible for the deaths his family caused. He isn't at fault, he is just a kid and he is allowed to be happy. Through her love and her support, he went on to become a king, honouring her dying wish to become China's greatest king. A king who understands the pain of others, could change the world, and save China from its warring states period. That is what she believed. And it's precisely because he feels the pain of others that he is the greatest king. He can lead his people, he can be the truth to his people, because he can understand their plights, he can feel their pain. But such an ability also came at a great cost. It is an incredible ability, but it causes great pain, as to be the strongest, to be the best, you must sacrifice. He took on the pain of all those he laid eyes on, he shouldered all their burdens, as a king should, because that is what it takes to honour the promise he made to Chun Yan, and to become the greatest king. Hades too though is a man of self-sacrifice, it's why he wounds himself to once again even this fight. Because a king wins no matter the situation, such a thing as a wound never factors into it. This is a testament to his right to rule as a king, his confidence in victory no matter the state of his own body. And he too was one to take on pain in silence. He fought off the Titans alone so the rest of the Greek gods did not have to. He fought without a word as he wished to protect his brothers. He bore the pride and respect of all other gods in the same way Qin Shi Huang shouldered the pain of his people. Both fought for a loved one who had perished, and both could not lose. Not just because of the promises they made to those loved ones, but also because they are kings and a king cannot ever lose. However, there is one more aspect to being a king than just shouldering pain or pride, or honouring promises. It also has to be something you want to do. Qin Shi Huang specialised in deflecting and redirecting attacks. He reacted to Hades, but then when going got tough and the ending of the match was soon, he had to switch to offense. Alvitar gave him everything she had, and he declared that he wants to win no matter what. Taking the form of a sword, Alvitar pushes him to act as a true king, and not just shoulder the thoughts of his people, but pursue his own goals too. It's a mirror of what Chun Yang told him, that he can't just try appease the people that hate him, he's allowed to be happy too. The sword is a proactive weapon, it's not for defense or counters, it's for striking forwards towards your own goal. And that's why he ends the match with a sword, as he is now fighting not just to protect his people and all of humanity, but also to win, because that is what he wants to do. As he says, a king is one who arises from the end and brings about the beginning. The fight ends with both kings giving their all, but there can only be one king. A king does not lose, they always triumph, and so the king where it all began wins, because he is a king, and a king cannot lose. Hades with his dying moments shows respect to his fellow king and then apologises to his brothers for breaking his promise to protect them. Now although there are lessons we can take away from these fights, that isn't exactly the case for this fight. It's different in such a way. This isn't like round 4 where Jack was shown to be wrong, or round 3 where Poseidon's attitude was proven false. In this fight, both fighters were just, both fought for the right things. The only lessons that were taken away is that you have to put your all into your own goals to protect those you wish to protect, and that's something they both employ. Both hold the pride of kings, but at the same time, Hades holds the pride of a big brother, and Qin Shi Huang holds the pride of a protector. They both have everything to fight for, so fight with everything they have. Both are great kings and both hold great pride and dignity, and so both deserve our respect. In a fight between two men who cannot be wrong, the fight cannot conclude with one party being wrong and the other right. It's why they show so much respect to each other, because they acknowledged that the other was mighty. Finally we come to the most recent fight in Record of Ragnarok, Round 8, the round of advancement and hope. Nikola Tesla, human history's one and only sorcerer, versus Beelzebub, the Lord of the Flies. Now, it might just be recency bias, but this is probably my favourite of the 4 rounds we've discussed today. Maybe round 6 beats it? Hard to say, as it personifies one of my favourite themes in all of fiction, of hope versus despair, as well as the beauty of advancement and science. From the get-go, it's a fight of contrast: the dark, broody Beelzebub who exudes darkness and inspires fear and despair in those who see him, a man who dresses in pitch black with a constant expression of sombre on his face, versus Tesla, the eccentric, curious scientist who exudes positivity and inspiration, who makes people stare in amazement due to his flashy golden suit and beaming smile that never fades. The two could not be any more different. One starts the fight by moving, by zipping around forwards into the future, and one who doesn't even move from the spot as he attacks, having no desire to move towards the future. Tesla wishes to experience a fight full of new experiences, he wishes to live a life full of substance, and Beelzebub just wishes to end the fight quickly, to kill and be done with it. Once again, they cannot be more different. And this difference comes down a lot to their respective backstories. Beelzebub had a tragic past. Inside him exists Satan, the devil himself, or so that's what people said. In reality, he just possesses a truly self-sabotaging ability, demonic destrudo. Whenever his feelings of love reaches their peak, he is forced to kill the object of those feelings, destroy that which he loves. It's a testament to his self-destructive nature, reflected in the chaos attack he uses in the match, an attack that damages him as well. Also, chaos is the opposite of law and order, like the laws of physics, aka science. Contrast once again strikes. Beelzebub, due to this curse, isolated himself from others. He said it was because others feared him, but in reality he just didn't want others to get close to him and die by Satan's hands. However, when he does make friends, Beelzebub is overjoyed. He may act a certain way, but deep down he desires connection as much as any other. But all good things must come to an end. First he kills his friends and then his lover. However, what he takes away from these experiences is not a positive lesson. He doesn't learn from them, but instead wishes to kill himself, to end it rather than to push through it. Yet due to Lilith's mark, he could not end it. It prevented him from ending his own life. It's what he took as a sign that he must continue to suffer, that he could not atone through death. Because Beelzebub does and always has hated himself. He never thought he deserved to live, and so he even contorts the love of Lilith into hate. Because it's easier for him to live as a hated man. It's easier for him to accept he is evil for killing those he loves than to accept their feelings of forgiveness. He turns to Hades, the king of the netherworld, to finally end his life, but even Hades cannot do it. Why? Because Hades is a kind god who can see the truth. Lilith didn't curse him, she just wanted him to live. She forgave him, yet Beelzebub once again refuses to accept her feelings and instead vows to keep living in order to die the most horrific death possible. This is his biggest flaw, that he refuses to love himself, quite ironic since he was the one to rid Foku of that too. Beelzebub wants to be miserable, he wants to suffer and he wants to die. Because he loves his friends, he loves Lilith more than anything, and so even if they forgive him, he can never forgive himself. It sounds like a contradiction, and in a way it is, because that is core to who Beelzebub is. He is both a god of agriculture but also a god of flies. He is contrast and contradiction personified, hence decides that he must keep living in order to die. He wallows in the past of his actions, not able to look towards the bright future, only towards his own dark and depressing death. Bringing the dead back to life, that is not progression, it is regression. He cannot see a future for himself as he doesn't wish for one. Yet that all said, his true feelings do remain. He may spout how Hades dying was bad because he can no longer be killed by him, but I refuse to believe that is the true reason. Hades was someone Beelzebub respected, someone he valued, the same as with Lucifer or Samuel or Azazel or Lilith. He just wanted revenge on humanity for taking Hades, someone he cared for, out of this world. He trusted in Hades to keep his promise and feels hurt that it has been broken, because he valued Hades and their promise. He once again has someone he cared for taken from him, but for once it wasn't his fault, it wasn't by his own hands. And that's why he takes action and fights, because for once he can actually get revenge. For once it's not his fault, he can do some good by avenging Hades. As there is still some good in Beelzebub, there always has been. It just ends up overpowered by the doom and gloom. It's his self-defense mechanism to protect himself. It's why when Lilith's mark shows up in this match, he fights through it, because he isn't fighting to die, he is fighting to win, in order to live. because all that Mark wants is to make sure he doesn't give up, and so when he truly goes for the win, it does not interfere. His opponent Tesla is once again in complete contrast. He too lost a loved one, he lost his brother who he looked up to and loved, but even as others mourned, he didn't cry. He let his brother live on through the science that he loved. Whereas Beelzebub sought atonement in the face of his loved one's death and wished to end it all rather than carry on, Tesla instead walked into the future to carry on his brother's will. Because death may be the end, but it is just the end of one life, and as long as one human is still breathing, progression will continue. The dreams of those before will live on, and those of the future will be given the chance to dream. Tesla took refuge in hope. Tesla doesn't hate, he doesn't blame, he isn't one to get pulled down by sorrow, as that only leads to self-destruction. No matter how many times he is knocked down or whatever injuries he takes, Tesla always looks at such things with nothing but fascination. He truly values everything, no matter how small. He continues to pull out new techniques after new techniques, as he is always endeavouring to advance and progress towards the future. He always finds a new way to fight, a new way to proceed, once again in contrast to Beelzebub, who kept doing the same thing again and again, failing to die and never considering an alternative. Beelzebub was always someone to work from the shadows, pursuing his own death in isolation. In fact, everything he did was in isolation, because of his fears of what would happen if he grew close to people again. But this is why he kept failing again and again. It's because he didn't rely on others, which is once again contrasted by Tesla's science, the culmination of humanity's collective minds. Science and Tesla are a demonstration of human collective, not an individual effort, which also ties into how Tesla lets his brother live on through not just him, but science. Something mirrored by how Beelzebub let his friends in Lilith live on through him, but through the pain he puts himself through instead, because once again he cannot accept their love. This round in its climax becomes a fight of pure endurance, of pure offense versus pure defense. Tesla's offense is a representation of his desire to move forward, and Beelzebub's defense is his desire to keep living even if his words say otherwise. Neither can afford to let up, and in a way both succeed in their goals. In this final push, Tesla warps his own arm so he can attack Beelzebub from both the front and back at the exact same time. Even at the very end, he is improvising and coming up with new ideas, because advancement never ceases no matter the situation. But Beelzebub countered it and ended the fight. Why? Because he anticipated it? He saw through Tesla's plan? No, nine. It's because he trusted in him. Beelzebub may act cold and nihilistic, but he can still trust. This is the lesson he learns through this fight. His promise of Hades, his trust was shattered, yet now once again he trusted in someone, and this time, that trust was not betrayed. Which is why he also earns the trust and admiration of his fellow gods too, because the only one who hates him is himself. Nobody else truly does, and although only future chapters will truly show, I do think that he has learned to love himself a little bit more since this match, and that the trust of others will once again remind him of the joys of being happy. He wanted to kill humanity for killing his friend Hades, but by the end of the match, such hatred no longer exists, because even if they were enemies, even if they were a human, he and Tesla connected, and a trust for the first time in a long time was forged with Beelzebub, with him leaving the arena with the words, "There's not much difference between gods and humans." The fight though didn't just end when Beelzebub landed that finishing move. No, Tesla chose how his end came, and so he used his final moments to inspire. He gives hope to all humanity, declaring that as long as we don't give up, in science, in humanity, Ragnarok will never come, and that humanity must advance forward, all said with a smile on his face. Tesla was hope, a bright blinding ray of hope. Just like his father Adam, Tesla too united all of humanity. He united us all in hope that we will never give up because humanity is strong, and even if we may have lost in the moment, we will advance, we will grow, and we will win. As that is what it means to be human. Just like how his brother didn't die and lived on through science, Tesla didn't die either. No, he lives on in the hope of humanity. As long as we have hope and we have a desire to advance and keep fighting, then Nikola Tesla, human history's one and only sorcerer, will live on. Just like Beelzebub, he cannot die. This fight is about two men, one who desires to die but cannot, and one who desires to live but even in death lives on. On a grander scale, this fight once again shows the power of humanity, with Tesla's words inspiring not just his fellow men, but the gods too. He proved science that humanity can rival and surpass the gods, a sentiment personified by how Zeus, the leader of the gods, even says Tesla surpassed his imagination, because that is what humans are, limitless. We will advance, we have no limits, and that is what Tesla showed us. Even with his loss, he inspired us all. And there we go, finally up to date.
But before I sign off, I just want to talk more broadly about the series as a whole. As well, it might surprise you to know that I love this series, and yet it might just be me, but this series, it just really resonates with me. As well, I'm human, and this series is all about our collective power as a species. The gods want to wipe out humanity because of all the bad we do, but these 13 fighters show the opposite, of the good in us, of the amazing things that we as humans can accomplish. It's inspiring to me that we can rise up and beat the gods, that even in death we can advance, that even the most despicable of us can be shown love and can have their opinions swayed. I've teared up a lot reading this manga, as it just gets to me. When Adam our father declares his love for us, when Qin Huang our king fights to protect us, when Tesla proclaims to us that as long as we advance, Ragnarok will never come. Those just get to me, and they make me proud to be human. It's why no matter what, I will always root for the humans, that even if I know narratively the humans will lose a round, I never give up hope that they may just grasp victory. Of course I know humanity will ultimately triumph, but that's not the point. What makes this manga so powerful to me is the struggle we as people must undergo to achieve victory, to prove our worth to exist, to prove we are allowed to keep living, that we as a species may do bad things, but that humanity overall is mighty. As I am human, I assume you are too, and that's something we should be eternally proud of, as damn it, I love humanity.
Sorry this video took so long to come out, but as you can probably tell, it was a lot of work, and damn, there's so much these fights to take in, that it really was hard to get my thoughts coherent enough to write a script. But now it's done, and it can never be undone.
On screen now is a few Redditors who have also made some great Record of Ragnarok analysis, in case you haven't had enough yet, as they are quite good and opened my eyes to some aspects of these fights I hadn't before considered, and really helped me to get my thoughts on these fights a little more coherent and structured. So full credit to any of the ideas they brought to light, which I then expanded on and built on myself. But anyway,
I look forward to analysing round 9 once it concludes, so until then, thanks for watching. No, non-9. Thanks for scrolling down your screen and liking, subscribing and ringing that bell. Come on, if you've watched this far then, I want to say I deserve it.
And if you want to go the extra mile in supporting this channel, then consider pledging to my Patreon, where for as little as £2.75 a month, you can get your name at the end of the video, like Ikari Desu, 7SO, Ringjack9696, Dewey, and General Tonyos. So with all that said and done, I've been Seth the Sin, the Deadly Sin of Geek, and I'm signing out. Stay safe, everyone.